but Fuck Being Fat by Alan Roberts may be your cup of tea. That's weird. Where did that bleep come from? Immersive sports science. Content not commentary, sports science, not bro science. Today we're going to be reviewing the Amazon bestseller book by the Every Damn Day Fitness Alan Roberts, Fuck Being Fat, Solve Your Weight Problems Once and For All with Maths, because in America they only seemingly do it once, and Willpower. Yeah, I might have just accidentally annoyed 33% of my audience. Now, Alan Roberts himself is seemingly a very controversial figure. There's certain sects like the fat acceptance movement and the body positivity movement, the intuitive eaters, who really do not like him. He has two channels, one to do with fitness and the other one to do primarily with his own thoughts and opinions. We are going to try and avoid critiquing his Every Damn Day Fitness. I have to admit, I don't agree with his political opinion. However, my channel is not to do with politics, and I will not discuss American politics or American discourse. What I will do is critique this very book here and this book alone. Talk around the science and expand upon the science. Alan Roberts himself has made a career out of YouTube and his own personal business and brand, the Damn Collective, which he has with his wife. And he himself critiques the fitness industry and comes up with all the bullshit and bro science that you usually see people like James Linker and Swollenormous do. And he separates himself by becoming incredibly triggered about certain things. He's like a snowflake in that respect, in that kindest of respect, shall I say.
Inside, you just see this persona of Alan, and he goes by the angry bald man.
Okay, throw the strawberries inside.
Throw the fucking raspberries in. God, he's making my fucking eye twitch. Throw the fucking raspberries in the fucking thing. It's about 2 cups worth of fucking raspberries too, but throw them in there. Fucking, probably literally like fucking $4 worth of fucking raspberries. Throw the fucking raspberries in there.
It looks juicy already. Throw the strawberries.
It looks juicy. Yeah, the fucking raspberries look fucking juicy. They're fucking raspberries.
Deep down, when you actually get to know him, speak to him a bit more, you can tell his heart's in the right place.
Weight loss is about willpower and math, nothing more.
The book is split into 2 sections, the Math and Willpower, with math being the most dominant part of the actual book, appearing in both sections. There is also an unofficial 3rd section if you include the appendices and preface as one. In the last section of his book, it's just some thoughts about his own opinion and his philosophy. And the final bit is about the Hans Benedict models, and he shows the loads of tables necessary to help you as an individual. So in the preface and background, he talks about why he wrote this book, why he decided to lose weight, and that's because of health issues. He was a powerlifter, but suffered heavily from his own weight, causing him sleep apnea and things like that.
I'm currently losing body fat, cutting weight, and I'm doing it on purpose. If I wasn't, there might be a medical issue that I want to get checked out. But I started on July 11th. On July 11th, I weighed 243 pounds, 243 and a half pounds to be exact. That was about 29% body fat. Now, I was artificially keeping myself that high by eating extra food and all like that to try to get stronger for powerlifting. I decided, that week that it just was not healthy. I was not enjoying it anymore. I wasn't enjoying eating the food. I wasn't enjoying keeping the extra weight on. And while I do work out very, very hard, and my cardiovascular was still very, very good because of how I work out, the extra weight was causing me to have sleeping problems, all sorts of stuff. So I decided to take it off. That, and I am a 46-year-old man, and anything over 20% body fat is truly in the unhealthy range. So I was keeping the weight on for arbitrary purposes that mean actually nothing in the longevity of a lifetime.
He clearly states when it's his own opinion and when it's science, or his own opinion backed by science, utilising his almost famous catchphrase, "in my opinion, of course." He also talks about seeing the bro science, the fake gurus online, selling you a product and making you want to buy the next product, if you like, a pyramid marketing scheme, so to speak. And he wanted to break that chain and show people information that he'd gathered, he'd learnt, that was scientifically accurate. And they're very similar goals to what my channel has. He, however, is a little bit more confrontational, but that's just a different style. He has a very autocratic style, and sometimes that autocratic style is not necessarily helpful in certain situations, but yet again, each individual to their own. Sometimes someone needs to have an arm around the shoulder, while another time someone might need someone to shout, "Hey dude, grow a pair of balls and fucking get on with your life." Someone might think, "Yeah, I need to grow a pair of balls, I need to lose weight, damn, let's bring it." But other people will shy away and feel upset. And you see that with some of his rants and tangents. In the preface and background, he also talks about the so-called scientific phobic influences and their impact upon people's health. This is the science-phobic influences, or the science-phobic movement in terms of fact acceptance. Those are his words. It's his way of trying to tackle the bro science, the misinformation. And this is a general theme throughout the book, although it has a prominent part within that section. Within the math section, the information is highly nuanced and scientific in approach. In the math section, the information is highly scientific, contextual, and nuanced. It focuses on caloric balance and reminds the individual that you do not have a spare body. This is not just a food hole. You are not a trash can. Do not treat yourself like you are garbage. Treat your body like a temple. You are worth more than just being junk. Within this section, beyond the caloric balance, ask these people to know what's in their food. And he talks about individual sections, proteins, carbs, fats, and talks about how they affect the body, how much you need, and what is relevant to you personally, and takes in instances of when you're massively obese, maybe you have certain situations where you need to eat less fat, etc., etc. Protein, fats, and carbs are what we know as macronutrients, and that's where we get most of our calories from, as well as other information about basal metabolic rate, which is linked to caloric balance. If you want to know more about caloric balance and the basal metabolic rate, click on this video here. Now the next section is about willpower, and he doesn't necessarily go into the social behavioural reasons. I can expand that further, and I will do soon. He talks about utilising an example, and it's quite funny, or his old boy Hemingway, as an example to explain what it's like to be obese trying to lose weight, or vice versa. Now according to Alan, willpower is one of the hardest parts of trying to lose mass, trying to get yourself healthy. And yes, it is. It's linked to motivation and determination, although they're not necessarily the same thing.
Motivation is your general willingness to want to do something, whereas determination is a positive emotional feeling that often happens prior goal obtainment.
In terms of behavioural change, there are 3 types of models we generally utilise. That being the health belief model, trans-theoretical stages of change, and that's a 2-part model, as well as the new Leeds-Beckett style model.
Health belief model can be summed up in that if you believe your health is at risk, then you will do the behaviours that help facilitate change. But as we know, this is not always the case. Trans-theoretical model argues that individuals progress through stages of change, and moving across these stages is cyclic because many people do not succeed in their efforts at establishing and maintaining lifestyle change. This extra step is known as relapse, where they basically fall off the bandwagon. Secondary to the stages of change are the processes and levels of change, which help us understand how and why people make decisions and what influences their decisions, as well as understanding the sources of self-efficacy and confidence. While the health behaviour change wheel is a multifactorial model of everything.
And in terms of thinking about your physical activity, he also gives fine examples of this. So he tells you what's barely active, lightly active, moderately active, active and extremely active, and gives you an example to do that, because many people will think, oh yeah, I'm active, I walk around a bit. No, you're sedentary. And utilising examples I've had from my own PTing job, I had people come to me who are clearly overweight, who stated that they were active, being a security guard and walking 2 miles around the block. Yeah, but you've been sedentary throughout the rest of it. So you are sedentary by nature and therefore inactive, as you don't exercise or do more than just walk around when you're doing your job. To give an example of this, for the light activity, you get 1 to 3 days a week of light activity, 30-minute walks at a slow pace. Think Walmart shopper. And my favourite of the lot, extremely active. You exercise 7 days a week with sometimes multiple times a day and or have a seriously physically demanding job. You, my friend, are a fucking machine. Now with these charts and this information and the math side of it, he then links it to his examples of our old boy Hemingway. Although it's highly talking about the caloric balance and the caloric deficit, how to get you into caloric deficit, he does note that if you eat shitty food, you can still technically be unhealthy, even though you are losing weight. Utilising his own words,
You cannot out-exercise eating too much shitty food.
in order to lose weight and lose mass, it has to come from a position of acceptance, accepting yourself, accepting where you are, and understanding that you are unhealthy. And I myself, either for looks or whatever, want to lose weight, not for you, but for myself. And the problem with this book, he talks about his own, the way he eats, and that everyone should eat like that. And that's necessarily not a good idea. Everyone is an individual and everyone has to eat in certain ways, depending on their individual differences and needs, wants, desires, etc. One thing he is really good though is working out with those on the extreme side and understanding that this may be the reason why you are overeating, maybe because you have an intolerance to the stretch reflex. So therefore when you eat 3,000 calories, you still feel hungry even though you really shouldn't be eating 3,000 kcal, for instance. In terms of the nutrition side, he's very much against cheat meals. And I can understand why. If you are obese and you're trying to lose weight and then you have a cheat meal that basically makes up the calories you had during the week, why are you trying to lose weight? What's the fucking point? However, some people might like that to lose weight, having an 80%, 20%. It might help them with their caloric maintenance, for instance. So this is where having being individual differences comes to play. Some people might not be able to stick to having a cheat day, the 80 to 20% rule. Well, others will. And he's also very much against fasting and intermittent fasting. Now, he is personally against it, fasting in general, because of the gurus monetizing it for their own personal gain. But there is scientific reasons why you may want to do intermittent fasting. And it's not necessarily, as Alan Roberts states, an eating disorder, intermittent fasting. But likewise, as he said, the science isn't necessarily there at this moment in time. I personally think you need to find an eating protocol that works best for you and the client, and how the client can work with that. If they try and eat like you, it will not work. And that's shown by Dr. Mendoza.
The biggest mistake that a lot of PTs make is forgetting that their clients don't like the gym, don't like exercise, and are very unlikely to follow some strict dietary plan long term. They'll follow it for 5 or 6 weeks, while it's kind of new and motivational and what have you. If you're going to be any good as a PT, you want your client to have long-term results. So rather than concentrating on fad diets and protein shakes and what have you, they need to find things that are going to work for that client's lifestyle. It's your lifestyle that got you fat, and it's only your lifestyle that's going to get you thin again, Frank. And there's a big study that's been done in the Journal of the American Medical Association that has pretty much turned around and said we should stop researching diet. And that's simply because every derivation of a diet has now been studied. Think of a combination, there's research on it.
And study protocols vary greatly in the interpretations of their weight loss. Most human intermittent fasting studies result in minimal weight loss and marginal improvements in metabolic biomarkers, though outcomes vary.
Now, in terms of intermittent fastings talking about meeting your internal hunger cues, that's not necessarily always a good idea. Yes, it's a good idea if you're underweight, or if you had what Dr. Stephanie Buttermore had.
First dieting, a lot of the symptoms that would characterize being either in a caloric deficit or having HA. I was experiencing things like being really, really cold all the time. I was tired. I feel like my strength took a really big hit. And most inconveniently, I was ravenously hungry.
However, if you're morbidly obese and are used to eating 3,500 calories, maybe you have binge eating or an eating disorder. Maybe you're psychologically surrounded by food and you have the genes which say to you, have to eat, have to eat, have to eat. Meeting those internal hunger cues, whatever they are, is not necessarily a good idea. And therefore you may need to ignore those hunger cues. Shock horror! Yes, I did state that. And yes, by the way, I'm not a dietitian or nutritionist. And if you need advice on dietary needs or nutrition, go and see one. But likewise, what we see with nutrition is a lot, according to Alan Roberts, of cognitive dissonance. This idea I can cheat but lose weight, eat more but lose weight. And in terms of willpower, and what he says here, if you can't develop the willpower to stick to the nutritional goals based on long-term health, you will never be healthy. I totally agree with that. As a PT, if I can't manage you to get your willpower and you have to want it yourself, then I can't help you. I'm just a body to guide you. I'm not the actual person to do the work for you. And this is not me having a go. A lot of people do struggle with this, and it's not necessarily motivation and determination. It may be other factors why you are struggling to be able to do the work. And it might be just an educational reason, but you have to, with help, figure out what they are. And if you can't do that, then you're probably not going to be healthy. In terms of the cheating meals, he gives a kind of humorous example where he talks about a husband cheating on his wife. And you could possibly apply it the other way around, a wife cheating on her husband or partner. You wouldn't cheat upon your wife and gain nothing in return for your own health. If it is affecting your health, your marriage, your well-being, then why cheat on your own health? Why cheat to yourself? That's basically the kind of the message he's going for. And commercialization of the food and branding and marketing of it has a massive impact on how we perceive food, whether we perceive that food to be healthy or not, whether we perceive a food to be high in calories or not. Hummus, for instance, is often promoted as a health food, and it can be a health food depending on your diet. However, it is high in cacao. In that respect, if you're losing weight, eating a lot of that is not healthy. Eating it in small amounts is healthier. It also depends on what your diet is like previously to what you need personally. Now, misinterpreting or misreporting is massive within fitness, and we find that a lot in our studies as well, in nutritional studies. Alan Roberts talks a lot about this. A third of people misreport or misinterpret how much they actually eat, and quite often the times they underestimate how much they eat. Now, this could be because they do not include, let's say, the calories from their liquids, because people don't necessarily think you drinking stuff has calories to it. Misunderstand how many calories are actually in their food, and they think they're eating less than what they actually are. Often people will go off on feelings because most people eat intuitively to an extent. And when we mean intuitive, we not mean a distinctive diet plan like Abby Sharp would say. That kind of intuitive eating. It's a little bit more subtle and nuanced than that. They eat things that they think are light, but actually may have more calories than they think. Some of this food is not actually filling, and Alan Roberts talks about volume of food. So having a volume of low calorie foods is better than eating the same volume of high calorie food if you're trying to lose weight and get yourself into a caloric deficit. Of course, they could just be flat out lying to your face. Takes that final example as almost the only example. And I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think we need to look at the science and what the science says about this. By rewarding yourself, not necessarily working towards gaining, which is what Alan Roberts said. And when he means by gaining, we're not talking about gaining muscle mass or gaining results. He's referring to you worked hard, therefore you gain it as a reward if you want it, or most times if you need it. If we're utilising a day or a meal as a cheat meal, then basically you are cheating your nutrition plan. Your nutrition plan is your husband or wife or partner. Furthermore, as I mentioned, you are cheating yourself. Some people have to accept themselves first. And some people don't want to lose weight. They're trying to lose weight because they believe society wants them to lose weight. If you're at that position, then you personally, in my opinion, are not ready to do the exercise. And it's not saying you're not worthy, don't get me wrong, it depends what you are comfortable in. If you're comfortable being obese, great, but as a personal trainer telling me to lose weight, but then you're not comfortable in doing so, then you're not going to put the effort in order to do that. And that's not me having a go at you, that's just fact. Once someone has acceptance of themselves, accepts where they are, accepts the effect they're having upon their body from their actions, and it's hard, it's one of those things, we never see ourselves doing wrong. It's what Dr. Ronson states. We never see ourselves as a problem, and sometimes we are the very problem. And that's something referring to social psychology, social backgrounds. We try and get ourselves into a tribe of like-minded people. And fat acceptance movement jumps upon this. Now, I'm not saying fat acceptance movement is wrong in on itself. No, of course not. But what I am saying, there are members of that community, like with any community, who are highly toxic, who would sell you something that is incorrect and factually and morally and ethically wrong. So you can be healthy at any size. We know is factually wrong and devoid of reality. And to just end it on a point really, Alan says in this part of the book, this may be just my opinion, just like the entire book. I personally think he's being really disingenuous to himself. You've got some very good scientific fact in here, information wise, excellent, and you state when your opinion is, you state where your biases lie. The one thing I would say though, it's probably too much to the point for some people, but yet again, if that's not your style, you don't buy this book. Or you buy a book that will tell you just like everyone else. Likewise, some people just need to be told straight to the face, this is what you're doing, army style, grow the fuck up. It talks about friends. I'll be here for you. No, not that kind of friends. Alan's got friends? Friend! Oh, friend! No, Alan, I am joking. Please don't roast me. But no, in all seriousness, you need to surround yourself with people that are like-minded. And if you surround yourself with people who are like-minded, they're more likely to motivate you. They're more likely to understand why you need to make these changes and are supportive to you. But that can lead yourself in certain situations to act as your own filter bubble. Now, generally, and I utilise internet as an example, although this can be applied outside of the virtual landscape, we have these bubbles around us. And an algorithm will act like a filter bubble, telling you what things you may like. Now, you do this yourself personally. Now, if you're acting as your own filter bubble, here is everything that is you, your family, your friends, Star Wars, whatever. Pocahontas. And then you're basically only selecting the things you need. That can be helpful, but it's also limiting. And you find that some people end up in an echo chamber where it's just the same thoughts and opinions bouncing around. Now that's, well, it's not okay. It's fine, but sometimes you need an opinion that's just cutting through. That's different. And you need to hear that opinion. You may not necessarily agree with that opinion, but you may need to hear that opinion. So sometimes it's mindful to hear that other opinion, whether that's buying a newspaper or whatever the counter-adjust opinion is. You need to hear it sometimes. Yes, we can't hear everything, because otherwise we hear everything and we do nothing. Because you've cut your friends out, you then do not know how you can then obtain that same support once it does fail, if you don't have the motivation to carry on with the exercise, and that can potentially be damaging. But likewise, I hope I've given the full context around the idea. And Alan's principles often go against what much of the well-being literature states. Yet again, well-being is linked to positive psychology, and what Alan Roberts states is within positive psychology. So that's the feeling of happiness, and well-being is the science of happiness, if you're willing to accept that definition. Alan Roberts is almost against the idea of eating because it's enjoyable. Yes, eating things that do enjoy, drinking beer is okay within moderation. But what is moderation is often not very well explained. And what is moderation for certain foods too? And this concept of if you are eating to fullness, then it shows that your body is working perfectly. We have to get away from that sweeping statement because it's only relevant to a certain population. Some people, due to illnesses, maybe their body is leptin intolerant, maybe they have a stretch shortening cycle, maybe they love the feeling of being stuffed, and there are people within certain fetish circles online who enjoy that kind of thing. And people who don't know when they are full. And sometimes, like Alan says with one of his examples, had a person who would eat 3,100 calories and felt they needed to eat 1,000 more in order to eat to fullness. But that would not put him in a caloric deficit, that's put him in a caloric surplus and he's gaining weight. That is clearly not healthy. So we need to get away from that notion, that one sweeping intuitive eating notion, even though intuitive eating is an okay eating program. We need to focus on what works best for that individual. And sometimes it is okay to feel hungry before you go to bed, and your body will adapt. Now, likewise, there are people who are starving where it's not okay for them to feel hungry, and they should eat to fullness. This information should be relevant to the individual. Likewise, this book here is about people who are unhealthily obese, and therefore that information I said is relevant to a certain sector population within here. That is called scientific nuance. The notion that eating healthy is expensive. It is not. It is certainly not expensive. He doesn't necessarily go into the full depth of why it could be expensive, but he certainly mentions how it cannot be expensive. And he doesn't certainly mention about areas where certain foods are scarcer. And when I mean that, I'm not talking about people starving. No, I'm not talking about that at all. I'm talking about areas where the supermarkets decide not to sell because it's such a stupid decision to sell X food in that area. This is referred to as a food desert.
The book had a fairly consistent structure and a style of writing that helped you keep you engaged. However, Alan went on tangents quite a fair bit and in some ways he potentially insulted his viewers. Now if I were to do what he did and have a paragraph going over 2 pages, I would be absolutely fucked with my work and be called out for it, and rightly so. However, he's able to get away with it. There was also some inconsistencies with writing style. For instance, to highlight something, he either used block capitals, or he used bold, or he used a mixture of both of them.
What is quite interesting, this book here is synthesized information of 2 of these here. This here is my PT level 3, then you have a level 2 as well. The nutritional information from here is practically 2 of these. So in terms if you want to buy this, get this information here. It tells you everything you need to know from a basic point of view. If you then need to expand your knowledge, then go and buy something. But first, I recommend getting this book here. If you are obese and looking to lose weight, or looking to gather the knowledge in order to help you start losing weight,
I give this book a score of 91.29.
My name's Alan Roberts. This is Every Damn Day Fitness. Like and subscribe. God damn!